What's going on, YouTube? Want to give you all a little update and do a little video to explain how I make my hybrid Kydex sheaths. First, I'll start with the update. I'm getting ready for Blade Show West in Salt Lake City coming up. I believe it's October 7th and 8th. Got about 2 knives done, and I'm hoping to bring 10. So we'll see if I can pull it off or not. I'm not that fast, and I only work in the evenings and on the weekends. But I got 3 weekends ahead of me, so I might be able to pull it off. I got most of them started. I hope to bring 2 knives in Damascus, 2 knives in San Mai, one of those being a dagger. A few in CPM 154 that will be blasted and stonewashed, and then 2 or 3 that will be in ADCR V2 parkerized. So yeah, that's my update right now. I'm just trying to get through all that. And today I'm going to work on a couple of sheaths for my first 2 knives for the show. So I'm going to take you all along on the journey. And well, I guess let's get started. Alright, so first I start with making a standard pancake sheath out of Kydex. So this isn't the knife I'm going to demonstrate everything on. I've actually already formed the sheaths for the knives I'm going to use for the rest of the video, but this is my everyday carry knife, and I've been wanting to make one of these sheaths for it anyway, so I'm going to go ahead and get one started. So I set this Black & Decker oven here. There's a few different things. You can use toaster oven, you can use for a long time I used a pancake griddle, but the temperature is right around 350 is where you want to be. I take my sheet of Kydex. I believe this is 80 thousandths thick. Get it from Holster Builder. And I'll put it in there, and once it gets to 350 it'll start to loosen up a little bit, and then I can form it around the knife. Right over here is the press that I will put it into. I will fold it over the knife, close the press, and then clamp it with these bar clamps. So right now we're just going to wait for this to heat up. Alright, the Kydex is ready, so I'm going to pull it out and let y'all see me clamp it here. You can see it's nice and moldable. I'm going to just do a standard pancake sheath. Get it in there kind of tight like that. Close it. Make sure I get it in all the way. Clamp these down, and I usually give it about 15-20 minutes, something like that, but we don't have to worry about that right now. Go ahead and turn this off. Alright. I should have started by saying the process takes at least 2 days. The first day I'll mold the sheath, get the leather all around it and glued on, and then I'll let that dry overnight. And then the next day I'll dye it, and if the dye dries in enough time, then I'll go ahead and do my stitching and finishing up. But sometimes it'll take up to 3 days. So these are the 2 knives right here I'm going to be working on. I'm going to start with this guy. These are my first 2 knives for the show. Got some of that cool. I still haven't finished this handle. I need to finish polishing and sanding the outside, but it's good enough right now. It's just off the grinder. Got some cool G-Carta. And then here is the pancake sheath. You can see the mold in it. So now I am going to sketch the shape that I'm going to cut out. I'm going to start, I usually try to give about a 1/2 inch or more of, this will be basically the welt of a leather sheath. So I can give myself plenty of room because I can grind it down smaller later. Can always take off, but I can't add it to it. So usually come about a 1/2 inch past the choil here and the plunge, and then I that come up, and then I usually curve it just a little bit like that. And then this is what's going to be a little bit different than most of your Kydex sheaths, is I'm going to come and I'm going to draw a line following the edge of the blade right up to close to where the plunge starts, and then I'm going to go up with it, because this is the point of retention right here, and we want to make sure we maintain that. I guess I should have kind of explained why I like these sheaths. You know, most of my Kydex sheaths I've done in the past, and I know some people have had are better at making them, but they eventually scratch the knives up. And with all the Sanmai and Damascus I've been doing, man, I just really don't like to scratch up the knives as much. So I started doing some leather, but I didn't really like the leather that much. I love the retention of Kydex. And I don't know, a lot of my handles are they're not real long handles. So, you know, if I were to do a leather sheath for this to retain, I'd probably have to come up to about like right here of leather, you know, and it just doesn't give you a lot to grab onto. So I really like being able to have a lot more of the handle hanging out and have good retention still. So that's kind of what I wanted to do with this, and I've had really good luck. And it, you know, the blade sits in here nicely, and there's no debris caught in there to scratch it. So it's been working out pretty good for me so far. So now that I got this sketched, I'll also be cutting it right about there. I like to kind of follow the line here, because one thing to think about is this fold right here. When you fold the leather, you want it to be pretty straight. I'll even take off a little bit right here as well later with the grinder, so it's a nice just straight fold, because the leather doesn't want to turn in two different directions. So anyways, with the bandsaw, get it cut up. Then I'm going to drill these holes. I'm going to grind the outside some and smooth it out. I'll do some polishing on the inside here to make it real nice and smooth. And yeah, let's get started. Alright, let's walk through what I've done so far. I went ahead and cut it out, ground it to shape for the most part, ground this inside, and I buffed it so it's nice and smooth right here, and it's smooth on the inside of this opening, so the knife can slide in and out really nicely. Next, also I wanted to show you, I know I didn't mention this earlier, when I was drilling the holes, I always use this for my template. These holes are set at 1.5 inches, so If somebody wanted to attach some kind of molly attachment or tech lock or anything like that, we'd be able to clip it to it. So next I'm going to take some rivets. These are just 1/4 inch rivets, and I'm going to press these in, and then I'm going to go and I'm going to trim off that little piece I was talking about earlier. I'm going to trim that off right about there after it's all clamped together so I can maintain the shape properly. And then after I get the rivets in, I'll go over to my heat gun, and I'm going to open up the mouth here a little bit so the knife can slide in nicely. And I'm also going to lift this top portion just a little bit right here. I don't want it to be like a big ramp right there where it'll push in to your stomach while you're wearing it, for people who have larger stomachs like I do. But anyways, that's what I'm going to do next. So let's get started. Alright, let's touch base. Put the rivets, set the rivets. I hammered them down flat. I didn't mention that earlier. I do that just so there's no gap between the Kydex and the leather. Put a clamp on there before I took the heat gun to it. That's so it maintains that little spot for the retention. So you get that snap right there still. So basically now we're just going to wrap that in leather, glue it, and then let that set up overnight, and then we'll stitch it. So yeah, so it'll be right about right here. Go ahead and get us a line. There we go. And we're going to trace this out, trace it on both sides. I'm going to let's skive and cut some grooves right down this so it'll fold nicely. Then I'll wet it, fold it, and let it kind of take that shape before I go ahead and get ready to glue it all up. So yeah. Alright, so I cut some grooves in the middle, skived it some to thin out that center spot just a little bit. Roughed up all around there so we have some better places to attach. You probably saw me as I was cutting it out. I I didn't really pay that close of attention to the line. I went to the outside because when it all comes down to it, it needs to be a little bit oversized over the Kydex, and we're going to be grinding it all down anyway, so it doesn't really matter. I will probably trim that just a little bit. Mark that real fast. Probably give that a little bit of a trim just to save a little bit on the grinding. There we go. That'll be better. So next, I'm going to go ahead and try to punch the holes with this leather punch here, lined up with these two holes. So get it folded over like that, open it up, lay it down, and I'll mark a hole spot right in the center, each of those. Punch a hole in it, punch a hole, line it back up, try to close it nice and tight right on the holes, lay it back down, mark my holes, come over here, punch them out, just like so. Alright, we're about to hit the last stage for the day. We got this where it's kind of holding its own form there. Got my contact cement, and next I'm going to put it where the glue line will be. I'm just going to layer it there and let it sit for a minute. Same thing on this side, and then put it all together. Then I'm going to clamp it up with a bunch of my spring clamps I have over here, and I use pieces of leather inside of them, because if I don't, you'll see all these dents that the clamps can make. Don't want to do that to the finish. So alright, I'll let it set up a bit. Now I'm going to put it together. I will use, I got some Kydex hardware over here that I'm going to use to hold it together. Keep the holes lined up. So go ahead and get this guy laid in there nicely. Get the holes lined up. Grab these posts. And run them through. Alright. Try and fold it over. Get those holes lined up. Press that really tight up in that top spot there and pinch it right here really nice. And then grab a piece of leather. And get a good pinch right there. I'll fold that leather around, grab a couple more small ones, and I'll clamp there, clamp there. And there we go. Let that dry overnight. And we'll touch base tomorrow. Can you even see it? There we go. Alright, we'll touch base tomorrow and get her all ground up and dyed and threaded. Alright.